Hey everyone, thanks for watching us here on YouTube. It's our big part one of our set review for Commander Legends. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to help support the show here on YouTube, very simple, just hitting subscribe is a big way to do that. Leaving a comment, whatever you like. If you want to support directly, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. Once you get in there and you want to help the show directly, you can become a part of our Discord, which actually helps us brew the decks. We go there every time and we get ideas from our patrons in our Discord. It's a lot of fun in there. There's a bunch of other perks as well. Check it out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, here comes our big part one of our set review of all of the legendary creatures from Commander Legends. Okay, we're back. Let's jump right into it. Commander Legends, massively huge set. Basically every card relevant in Commander. So it's not really like the regular sets where we go through it and just talk about Commander relevant stuff. We're still going to do that. It's just that there's way more cards to talk about, right?
Yes, we always start with the legendaries, and there's like, what, 100 of them? 50? 100, like something like that. And we're not even going to talk about the reprint ones. Like, we're just going to push those aside. These are the new partners. We're going to break them down by the monocolored ones, which all have partner, by the way.
Yeah.
Then we're going to do the 2-colored ones. Then we're going to do the 3-colored ones. So let's get to it, shall we? There's one colorless partner commander, and it's kind of the stopgap. What you're meant to draft this at. It's the Prismatic Piper. 5 generic for a 3/3 legendary shapeshifter. Any tribe. It could be your tribal commander of any tribe. Although it's a shapeshifter, but it's not. Anyway. If the Prismatic Piper is your commander, choose a color before the game begins. The Prismatic Piper is the chosen color, and it has partner.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You would always choose a different one instead to get the color.
Yeah,
So,
there's just no reason to even talk about this card. It's for draft only, and you're never actually going to run this as your commander because you would always want some ability, not just a 5-mana 3/3 with nothing else. So, yeah.
So, who's our first white commander partner?
Oh, okay. Our first white commander partner is Chroma, Vision of Ixidor. Chroma is 5 white for the legendary angel, 6/6. Flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, and get ready for this. And these all have partner. Just remember, the monocolored ones here that we're reading out all have partner. At the beginning of each combat, until end of turn, each other creature you control gets +1/+1 if it has flying, +1/+1 if it has first strike, and so on for double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, protection, reach, trample, vigilance, and partner. So it's like the Odric, but of +1/+1, not just granting those abilities. So Chroma and Odric, I mean, I think Odric has found a new angel to really set his sights on, right? Like,
oh my goodness. The only question is, who are you going to partner a Chroma with to get more colors?
Exactly.
That's the only thing.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like, obviously this is a great 99 card for whatever, I can't remember the name of that Abzan commander with all the counters that grant all these abilities and stuff like that. Like, it just, keyword soup just got a brand new ingredient, right?
Amazing. I love that they're partners. We can mix them, match them so many ways. If you want to stay monocolored, we can mix them with any of the following ones. Let's get over to Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist, 2 and a white, Legendary Core Scout, 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. Has partner. So this is very interesting. You can attach any auras and equipment. So equips for free at the beginning of combat because you're just going to like move equipment around however you want it. But target permanent or player. It doesn't have to be you. So you can take bad auras and give them to move them around on opposing creatures. White has a ton of like pacifism type of things. You can move those around whenever you want. This seems good.
I agree. They do have to be things you control. That's just the only kind of thing to note there. Otherwise, I think Arden is a powerful partner. Like, talking about decks that like have archetypes that want a partner setup, I think like any kind of aura based or equipment based thing, I think like that this is a very powerful commander for that strategy. Do you know what I mean? Like the ratio for how powerful a partner commander can be to any given strategy, I feel like Ardennes has a very high power level for that. Yeah. And also there's a store in Canada, like a ladies store for buying, is it clothes and stuff? Ardennes.
Is that where 14-year-olds get their ears pierced?
No, I think that's Claire's.
Claire's, right? That's Claire's. Okay, then I don't know Ardennes.
So there's a place, I think Sarah buys shoes there sometimes. It's called Ardennes, but like it could be pronounced Ardennes. We don't know. So I'm going to take it as Ardennes is the way we do it now.
Yeah.
So I love this one. This was actually one of my favorite partners to show up. Let's see the next one here. Again, in white, we've got Kelleth, Sun Main Familiar, 1 and a white for a 1/1 legendary horse. Whenever a commander you control attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it has partner. So, I mean, it's like a medium powered ability, you know, it's not nothing. And some commanders might absolutely love to have a +1/+1 counter thrown on them. That can enable a lot of stuff. So I think this is like a sneaky good one. Obviously not super powerful or anything, but I think it's going to be very useful for certain partner match pairings.
2 men is super cheap. We can get Kelleth out a lot, and you know there's numerous colors that intersect with white that care about +1/+1 counters. So Kelleth is pretty versatile, I think.
Yeah, one thing we got to keep in mind when we're talking about these partners is what are obviously like we're going to be able to partner them with other monocolored partners. But what are the old 2-color partners that are going to go really well with this, right? So, like, is there any of them that really care about +1/+1 counters, right?
Rayhan, Ishai.
Yeah, there you go. So, anyways, yeah, keeping that in the back of your mind is a good idea.
Who's up next? Olivia Oath, Sworn Sentinel, 1 and a white, another 2-mana 2/2 legendary human knight with 2 abilities in addition to partner. 1 and a white, choose another target creature. Its controller may exile it with an Aegis counter on it. The second ability will give you some more info about Aegis counters. 2 and a white, tap. Return all exiled cards with Aegis counters on them to the battlefield under their owner's control. So it's a lot of mana, but for 1 and a white, no taps, we can exile anything we want. Well, its controller may exile it, so our opponents won't voluntarily do this if they want them on the board. But I think we're meant to do this to our own creatures as protection, and then 2 and a white and tap to return them all under their owner's control. They need to have Aegis counters. They don't have to have been sent away with Livio. So if a board wrath is coming, I'm going to save all the ones I can with Livio, and then the next time I cast Livio, I'm going to activate him to bring all those ones back. I think that's the intended use of Livio.
Is there anything else that puts Aegis counters on things?
I don't think so. I've never heard of them before.
Yeah, I doubt it, right? I like this card, though. I think it's good. I like that you can do the first ability like as many times as you can afford to. You don't need to tap them to do it. And yeah, and then bringing them back, that's a nice blink, like kind of a blink ability. You don't have to sack him or anything. So I think that's all sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Next here we have another white creature. It's Prava of the Steel Legion. A lot of people were liking this one too. I did a couple of streams like during the day where I'd just play other games, but we would chat about Commander Legends at first, and a couple of the people from the Discord dropped in, and they were into this card. So Prava of the Steel Legion, 2 and a white, 1/4 legendary cat soldier. As long as it's your turn, creature tokens you control get +1/+4, and then pay 3 and a white to create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Doesn't make a cat, oddly enough, but it is soldiers. And I didn't even know this was a cat when I first saw this card. I just assumed it was like I just assumed it was a human for some reason, but it's a cat. It essentially makes 2 5s for 4 mana.
Yeah.
Not bad. And boosts all your other tokens too, right? So I don't know. Yeah.
I just can't wrap my head around all the possibilities. There's a million possibilities you might want this for.
Yeah, exactly.
Very few of the partners are so overpowered that you would want them as your partner, but like as a 99, all of these are great 99s in the right deck.
Absolutely. I do not envy whose job it is over at EDH Rec to create the combinations now. This like there's like billions. I feel like, you know, there's got to be some incredibly high number of partner possibilities now. But maybe not billions. I've gone mad. But there's a lot. I guess they're going to have to change that system altogether. Anyways, things that we'll realize as we're looking at these cards. Yeah. That's one of them.
Let's talk about Radiant Serra Archangel. 6 and a white. It's a 7-mana legendary creature angel for a 6/4 with flying. And you get to tap another untapped creature you control with flying. Radiant Serra Archangel gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Partner. That's a lot of mana for those amount of stats. She's like hexproof is kind of the default, like you can't touch me. She has a modified version of that in the sense that if they ever target her, if you have an untapped creature with flying, I think the whole idea is that Serra Angel is always untapped because she has vigilance. So something like you're supposed to attack in the air with vigilance, and then they're always available to protect Radiant.
It's kind of interesting that she doesn't have vigilance, though.
Yeah.
Something like that might have put this card into a realm where I'm interested in it, but there's something about it. I don't know. 7 mana, it just seems like a lot.
That's like the thing. This is the first one I'm not like pretty excited about.
Yeah, same. A bit of a bummer there for Radiant. Let's see. What about Rebek? Rebek, Architect of Ascension. 3 and a white. 3/4, legendary human artificer. Artifacts you control have protection from each converted mana cost among artifacts you control. Okay, that's interesting because this can be good, but this could also, if you ever have anything that wants to target each other, that can be a problem, right?
Yeah,
because it doesn't get protection from, it has protection from the CMC, so you can't like artifact creatures all of a sudden can't be equipped with stuff that it has that CMC. Anytime you would need to, I don't know, tap an artifact to affect one of your own creatures or something, you can't do that. So this sneakily might be bad. I don't know.
I'm sure there's a case or two where it would bite you in the butt, but I have a feeling like if you're an equipment attack deck, most of your creatures are probably not artifact creatures.
Yes, that's true.
And I suspect that if you're mostly an artifact deck, a lot of those artifacts are meant to interact with other cards, or they combo in ways like they create tokens or they sack things and they create mana. There aren't I can't off the top of my head think of a lot of artifacts that target other artifacts of your own to make combos happen.
That's true.
So I think it obviously that could be a drawback, but I think the plus is going to be way bigger. You're going to definitely want to think of like what are the most common things that destroy artifacts, like what are the most common spells. There's a lot of like what's Vandal Blast, what's that one? Like you got to have something to cover. Well, but that does everything, so you don't even care about targeting. I was
gonna say Vandal Blast doesn't even target, so you're fine.
Confusing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm probably thinking of like a real like a corner case scenario where it might be bad. And it probably gives protection from just what it needs protection from. What's next?
Alharu, Solemn Ritualist. 4 and a white, legendary human monk, 3/3. When Alharu, Solemn Ritualist, enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures. Whenever a non-token creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, so a couple of the things you created with Alharu when Alharu entered the battlefield. Whenever one of those non-token ones dies with a +1/+1 counter on it, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, and it has partner. A lot of hoops to jump through, but it reminds me of the non-legendary we got. Is it Basri's Acolyte that just you get cat tokens whenever anything with a +1/+1 counter dies?
No, I think it's Basri's Acolyte. I think is the one that puts the +1/+1 counters on it. Basri's Lieutenant.
Right. Yes. Okay.
And I think they're just soldiers. But at any rate, yes, that's the
right.
That's a similar thing.
So this seems like it costs more, and
this is both of those cards
are worse.
It's both of those cards put into one though, right? You put the counters on stuff, and it has the ability, so that's good.
Yeah, not bad.
I like it. I think this can enable some combos, and I think that
Yeah.
you're going to be happy to run this in a lot of. Yeah, it might not end up being your commander, but I think this is a pretty good 99 card for stuff like that. Yeah. Cool.
That's it for the white partners. Let's move on to the blue partners.
The blue partners. First, we have Brynelin. Is that how you say that? Brynelin? Imagine it was Brynelin. Get out. Crinoline. Anyways, okay. Brynelin, the Moon Kraken. 6 blue. It's a 6/8. It's a legendary Kraken with partner, and it says when Brynelin, the Moon Kraken, enters the battlefield, or whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost 6 or greater, you may return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand.
Whoa.
Okay.
Rules check. If I pay the buyback on cap size, does that count as a 6 CMC or is that 3 CMC?
Yeah, interesting. Okay, that's one way to look at it. So you possibly get what, 2 things?
Yeah,
bounced?
that way you're paying 6 to get 2 things bounced every turn.
So also though, for every 6 or greater spell you're casting, you get a bounce back or whatever that card's called. Is that what that card's called? Bounce back? What did you just say?
I said cap size.
Cap size.
With buyback.
I was thinking buyback and bounce. Anyways.
Aha. Buyback does not count towards converted mana cost.
Ah, fascinating. Okay. So what do you think of this card? I think that's like an 8 mana commander. It's not an ability that I'm super attracted by anyways. Like, how often are we going to cast, 6 and for such a small bonus on top of it? Like, I don't know. I'm not interested really.
Yeah, by the time I've got Brynelin out, like, I guess I'm casting 6 mana spells, but like, how bad do I want one thing bounced? Like, I'm probably not casting 4 or 5 the next turn.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because like the Moon Kraken, I thought it was gonna be like the card Trapped in the Moon. Like, I thought maybe it was like, oh, you exile it under Brynelin or something, which is that's a little better. Like, I could be interested in that, but
that's neat.
I don't know. Bouncing doesn't seem powerful enough. I mean, it's good for the Leviathan decks if you got your Sea Monsters deck, I suppose, but otherwise, I don't know. Not super impressed with it.
Well, let's move on to Elgith. Eligith. Crossroads Augur, 4 blue, legendary creature Sphinx, 5/6 with flying. If you would scry a number of cards, draw that many cards instead. Partner. Well, Eligith. Welcome.
I knew you would like this. We all seem to be like, oh, Sean's going to like this one.
It's true. I love scrying already. Just turn them to straight draws. Why not? So many cards have scry tacked onto them. I don't know if I would build a deck to get better value out of scry. You're already getting pretty good value. This is not an enormous bump in value. But in the 99, if I already had a bunch of... I don't know the deck I want this in, but I am drawn to it.
Yeah, it seems pretty decent, but again, I'm with you in that, like, I don't know if I want this as a commander, but it seems like it's solid 99 in a couple of decks.
Yeah.
It would really go well with the card that you always want them to print.
Oh, X, blue, instant, scry X.
Yeah. There you go.
I wish.
And then
Soothsaying is the closest.
Is there that card, but then draw a card?
Scry X and then draw a card?
Like, that feels like that would be worth it.
Oh, like if they printed that card?
Like if they printed the card you wanted, tag on draw a card, and we're laughing there. I think we're in better shape there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways. I mean, you could cast it for a single blue scry 0 draw a card.
Yeah.
Why not?
Is that too good? I don't know. Anyways,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So let's move on here. We also have Essior. Essior, Wardwing Familiar. 1 and a blue for a 1/3 legendary bird. Flying. Spells your opponents cast that target 1 or more commanders you control cost 3 generic, more to cast, and has partner. It's a small ability, I think, and in commander it's an even smaller ability. Obviously, in the early turns, this becomes a thing, and in the mid to late turns, it kind of just eats up excess mana when people want to use a removal spell. So it's not a major thing. I mean, people want to kill whatever they're trying to kill. They're still going to be able to do it, But this ability on a commander is kind of interesting. I don't know. But just the fact that now you can only use another partner is like, well, how much more powerful is this other partner going to be that you're going to want to protect this badly? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It's interesting. I think it's going to be really like decent to good in the draft environment if that ever happens. But as far as regular commander goes, I'd have to see a very powerful partner for to get in there with.
Agreed. Let's move on to Ghost of Ramirez Di Pietro.
Cool.
Ooh,
very cool.
2 and a blue, legendary creature, spirit pirate. Ramirez Di Pietro, the Ghost, is 2/3. Can't be blocked by creatures with toughness 3 or greater. So that means their toughness has to be 2 or less, which means Ramirez Di Pietro can kill them. Will kill them in combat, unless you pump it afterwards. Whenever Ghost of Ramirez Di Pietro deals combat damage to a player, choose up to 1 target card in a graveyard that was discarded or put there from a library this turn. Put that card into its owner's hand. Why can't they say milled?
Huh. Because it...
Discarded or milled?
Or put there from a library this turn.
Anyway, maybe they had the word... I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Maybe because it's not only milled. Like, what if you corpse connoisseur? Although I guess you wouldn't be able to do that instantly. Anyways, I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
What if they entombed? They went to entomb something in response or something. They wanted to still include that.
Sure.
I guess. I don't know.
Anyway, that's very cool. So like you can do your own stuff. Like if you like a lot of these effects are tied to like looters, but if you've already looted, you can take the thing you looted back into your hand. You can do this to yourself if you end up discarding things. Or I mean, politically you could do it to someone else.
Yeah, that's interesting. Although it says deals combat damage to a player, it doesn't have to be that player that you're doing it to.
Right.
That's good. That's interesting to note. Also, this is like an interesting form of evasion. It's almost like a weird skulk or something. You know, it's not skulk, but it feels similar.
I mean, that is what skulk is, right? They can't be blocked by bigger things.
I think it's power, though.
Oh, this is toughness, right?
Yeah. So if there's a 3/2, Ghost of Ramirez can't attack in, or it's just going to die. But you know, it's still evasion. It can't get through tokens and stuff, which stinks. But yeah. I mean, I wish it either just had flying or like I don't know, can't be blocked. You know what I mean? Anyways, it's not terrible or anything. It's still going to be able to evade a lot of the battlefield, so it's okay. And again, same thing. Don't have to do it to the player. So if any player doesn't have something with that toughness, you're still good to attack there. So I think it's actually decent. Anyways, okay, let's move on. We like that card. That card seems good. Glacian. What is that? How you would say that? Glacian Power Stone. Glacian Power Stone Engineer. 5 into blue for a 3/6 human artificer. Tap this and tap X untapped artifacts you control. Look at the top X cards of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. And it has partner. So, you know, something where we want to get a bunch of, you know, artifacts out is really cool. Card selection, filling the graveyard. This guy I think has a lot of useful like areas where you'd want this card. I think there's a lot of decks that would want something like this.
Yeah, and even if you have only one artifact that you're willing to tap, that's just draw a card.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, absolutely. And then otherwise you're just getting bonus selection, right? I think this guy's pretty good.
It's technically not draw a card. It doesn't say draw a card. You
True.
Put it into your hand, but you know what I mean.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the guy makes Power Stones. Of course he's cool.
Yeah, of course. He's the engineer of the Power Stone, so...
Yeah.
Neat. I like it.
Maybe he can take a look at my worn Power Stone and give me a brand new one.
I know, right? Hook me up with a new one of them Power Stones, man. Maybe this one comes into the battlefield untapped for once.
Yeah, right?
In my life. Help me out, Glacian.
Next we have Malcolm in the middle. P9 Navigator. 2 in a blue. Legendary Siren Pirate. 2/2 with flying. So 2 in a blue for a 2/2 with flying. Whenever one or more pirates you control, this is a pirate as well. Whenever one of our pirates you control deals damage to your opponents, you create a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage. and it has partner. So it's a little bit of a reverse Beckett Brass. You get the token on hits as opposed to on attack, but you've all got flying built in. Treasure is ramp. I love making treasures, so Malcolm seems all right.
Yep, I agree. Seems good. Obviously goes in pirate decks, 99 wise. There's a lot of interesting new pirate options in this deck, and it will be very interesting to see, I think, if any of them are better than just Beckett Brass, right?
That's a great. I mean, that'll be hard. We're
gonna have to keep that in mind. We're gonna have to keep that in mind and see if that's the case or not. Yeah. I like Malcolm. I'm interested to see how, what other great partners are out there for Malcolm. But it looks like a decent card. And even not necessarily even in this guy hits, he gives you a treasure token. Like, that's just a good card on its own. Doesn't have to be pirate centric, right?
Right.
Okay, next we have, this is a very interesting one. This is one of the mythics from the set. Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. 3 and a blue for legendary human rogue. A 3/1. You may have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces enter the battlefield as a copy of another creature you control, except it has Sakashima of 1,000 Faces' other abilities. And the other abilities include the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control, and partner. So right away, wanting to be the commander, I think, of like a clone deck, because that's the only way we're going to get more than one of the same legend, right? Is if we're cloning things.
Yeah.
Right. And very interesting that Sakashima can only clone stuff you control.
Right.
So it's not that type of thing where like we can grab another player's commander. It's only your own stuff. So that's a downside. I have noticed that's not nearly as good as a regular clone.
It's true, but being able to copy a legendary can do some really busted stuff. I think it would be interesting to look at who Sakashima's partner is, because you essentially have 2 of that partner.
Yes.
In the end. So like if there's any cumulative partners, I don't know, a Chroma, for example, would be pretty good.
There's a couple I'm sure you would want to write the word partner on the bottom of, and to be able to just have 2 of them.
No, I mean the partner a Chroma.
No, I know you do.
I'm
just saying, like, it would also be funny if we just could do that to a bunch of other a bunch of other ones. But you're right, a Chroma is a great mix, because Chroma is only granting that thing to other creatures. So now but then they do it to each other. That's wild.
Yeah.
I still like this card though. I think it's really good.
I do.
Like you're saying, I think the doubling up on legends is going to be very powerful. Like I have a deck where I have that card where it's like the legend rule doesn't apply, and it has basically, and I have a bunch of clones, but still it has kind of never really come up. So it's not the same as it used to be, man. That old legend rule was a mean rule, and this would have been a really cool way to get around it. But it's tough to get more than one of the same legend these days, right? In Commander. Yeah. Anyways, still cool card. Very excited to see what we can do with it.
Very cool. Now we've got Cyani, Eye of the Storm. 3 and a blue for a legendary Jin Monk. 3/2 with flying. Whenever Cyani, Eye of the Storm attacks, scry X, where X is the number of attacking creatures with flying, and it has partner. Obviously, I want to pair it with that Sphinx, mainly because it's in my recent memory, and I don't know any blue or black, green, or red commanders right now.
Listen, I'll tell you, there's nothing quite like sitting out on your front porch on a hot summer's day, just enjoying a nice gin monk.
Yes.
Just the little umbrella in there. You got the fancy straw. Just a nice, icy cold gin monk.
Just quenches the thirst.
So much cream. Very good. A creamy gin monk. Yeah, this one's I think nice in obviously a lot of different decks. They gave a lot of fuel in this set, it seems, to the blue-white flyers archetype, which kind of isn't its own thing in Commander outside of a few specific commanders, I think. So I think they really beefed it up, obviously for the draft environment, but as a result, we get it in Commander as well. So Cyani is definitely one of them. Yeah. Cool. And
onto the black ones?
Yeah, onto the black ones. First up, we have Armix, Filigree Thrasher, 2 and a black for a 3/2 legendary artifact creature, Golem. Whenever Armix attacks, you may discard a card. When you do, target creature defending player controls gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control plus the number of artifact cards in your graveyard. Partner. So obviously this one partnering nicely with what's it called there? The Power Stone guy.
Oh
Blue,
yeah.
Blue Blacks is going to dump a. We're going to have a bunch of artifacts out. Hopefully, then we're gonna pour cards into our graveyard.
Our mix is an artifact to begin with, so you're always getting -1/-1 minimum.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, target creature we're going to be able to take down with this. It's something. It's not like it's a nice little partnering combo there, but it's nothing super powerful. Like I feel like you if you made these two guys your commanders, all the other stuff your deck does is going to be more powerful than even this interaction, which is not bad. Not to say that they're bad. It's just that like.
Right. It has to be that way, because if you just make like the partner mechanic can lead to like degenerate stuff.
Yes.
So they have to temper it. Mm-hmm. And let's not forget that this is a draft environment. So they can't all be bombs, right? Like sometimes you might be like stuck like, oh, I only got Armix as my black commander, but I really want to be black-blue. So here we go. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think that actually I really love, just want to say overall for the whole set, I actually really love where the power level is at for like 99% of the cards. I think they really did a great job with it, and there's definitely some really powerful commanders that have partner, and then there's a lot of these which are kind of middle of the road. But I love the creamy middles, man, because that's where we get to get really creative and stuff. So this is the first partnership that jumped out at us, I think, is this one with the other guy there. But there's lots more that we can do with this card. So
tons more.
I'm interested.
If at least the 99. All of these are good for the 99. We'll say it again. Next up is Falthis Shadowcat Familiar. 2 and a black for a legendary Nightmare Cat. 2/2. Commanders you control have Menace and Death Touch. Partner. So that means Falthis themselves has Menace and Death Touch.
Mm-hmm.
But also whoever you partner them with. So that's, I'm sure we can brainstorm who would be the best candidate for that. Someone with First Strike, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Right. This is maybe a nice one to have with a Chroma. Right.
Oh yeah. I want to dip back and go partner this up with Akiri Lineslinger and get a Mardu partner deck with like a Akiri attacking with Menace and Death Touch.
Definitely. Yeah.
And First Strike.
Even Bruce Tarl, because he gives the double strike there.
Oh,
with the Menace and Death Touch. Yeah, this is, obviously you can do this for every partner, but some jump out at you. And I think Falthis, while this is a very simple ability that we're getting here, it seems like this could be really powerful. You put this kind of evasion and like the powerful ability like Death Touch on even partner commanders, I think is like, this is exciting. So yeah, I also think this is good with like Ramirez, the ghost of Ramirez DiPietro, right? Like,
of course.
Extra evasion. No one's going to want to block that guy. Yeah. Pretty cool. And I like the art on this one too. Might be one of my favorite arts of the set. This cat looks
you can
weird.
just hear it's that like
yeah, totally.
But it's like echoey, it's echoey and nightmare-y, like it's coming from the nightmare realm.
Next we have Casket, the Flesh Sculptor. 2 and a black for the 1/3 legendary human artificer. We can tap it to sacrifice 3 other artifacts and or creatures, and look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So it's very interesting that you have this ability on this black commander, and it's very similar to the blue one, right? Except that we're not sacrificing things. We're just, in the blue one, we're tapping. This one, we're getting to pick 1. This one, you get to put 2. All the others in the graveyard, They're very similar. Very interesting.
Yeah. A lot of graveyard stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's this is not this exact thing is new, but like black does all kinds of stuff like this, sacking things to draw things. Like it's just turning the knobs of that ability. Very interesting to be able to sacrifice not only artifacts but creatures and have them be interchangeable. Yes. You feel like you don't see that very often. No. That seems new to me. Also, specifically, must be 3. Yeah. Right? Must be a combination of 3, whatever it is of those. Has to be 3. Has to be 3 other ones. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. How about Nadir, Agent of the Duskanel? Duskanel. 5 and a black for a legendary elf warrior. 3/3. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Nadir. When Nadir leaves the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens equal to its power, partner. So, I mean, black is not known as the token color. It's certainly possible to make tokens in any color, but black is not the best for it. So I think you are going to rely on your partner for the colors that give you access to the tokens. But, you know, a lot of sack loops involve sacking tokens, so Nadir can probably get enormous pretty quick. Nadir himself does make the tokens when Nadir leaves the battlefield, so like that's one way to get the loop going.
Yeah, it feels like a couple combinations that we've seen already. There's that white commander that, you know, cares about the counters and the things dying and making spirits. It just gives you even more stuff.
Oh, the Aegis counter one to like
no,
just
not even that one.
Nadir?
But actually, that is a good one because this just leaves the battlefield. It's not a dies trigger. That's very interesting. Yeah. So, who was that? Like Rebek or I don't know.
Livio.
Yeah, Livio. There's even a good combo with Prava of the Steel Legion there to pump up things. Anyways, there's tons of good combinations.
We will only be talking about backwards combos.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We've already talked about.
Exactly, absolutely. We can only do that because, like, even though, like, I know that like there's a green black elf thing in this set, so yes. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of green ones. But can I name them now and reference them? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Later on, we'll be able to talk about that, though.
Like, I learned about a few of these today.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we should note that we are recording this before all the spoilers have dropped, but we're pretty sure we got all the legendaries.
Oh yeah. Just if we miss one, it's because there's a 5-color one that hasn't been spoiled yet.
Yeah, and maybe we'll release a very special episode just for that one card. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on with black commanders here. Next we have Sengir the Dark Baron. This was an early one to get spoiled, and it's a return of a very beloved Magic character. So 4 black for the Baron, legendary vampire noble, 4/4 with flying. Whenever another creature dies, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Sengir the Dark Baron. Whenever another player loses the game, you gain life equal to that player's life total as the turn began. So that's interesting. Loses the game triggers are not super enticing to me because that's just such a rare. There's literally will only be 3 of those in a 4-player. Like, you know, the number of times that could even happen is obviously so low, right?
Especially if it isn't all of them die at once, right? Like very often everyone dies in the same turn as well.
That's true. So this is a thing, like I that ability feels like almost like a nothing to me. And especially if you kill the guy when he's got like 3 life left, it's like, okay, bam, I killed you. It's like, okay, well, great. So what does Sengir want from me? To kill someone when they're at 40 life? So what, I'm running some kind of combo that I just win? What's the point? That I don't need this guy.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that they focused a little bit more on the like vampire side of it. I know that that's where the life gain comes from, but the old vampire thing, like he used to be able to regenerate vampires. I think that was what his original card did. And then also he had +2/+2 counters. So that's where that comes from. Honestly, I'm not wild about this card. A 4-mana 6/6, 6-mana 4/4 flyer. He can get big though. So there is that at least.
Yeah, I mean, the only interesting interaction, not only interesting, but like the most interesting interaction someone has mentioned on a forum or something was Aetherflux Reservoir. Like you pay 50 to 50 someone, and then you probably will get 40 or most of that back. If true. High life total.
Yeah, you have to gain a lot of life to make that happen.
Yeah, but it just, you know, I mean, that's like you're already jumping through so many hoops with that card anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Who's next? We got our first Planeswalker partner commander, Tevesh Zat, Doom of Fools. 4 and a black for a legendary Planeswalker, Zat. Starts with 4 loyalty. So you can go +2 to create 2 0/1 black Thrall creature tokens. Or you can +1, these are 2 pluses. You may sacrifice another creature or Planeswalker. If you do, draw 2 cards, then draw another card if the sacrificed permanent was a commander. So it has to be the partner. Then -10. That's a lot of activations. -10, gain control of all commanders. Put all commanders from the command zone onto the battlefield under your control. So you can't hide their commanders. Like, you're pulling them out of their command zones to steal them if they're not on the battlefield already. That's a crazy ultimate.
Yeah.
That's super exciting, and we've never seen anything like it before. The Timmy and me loves that kind of thing. Planeswalker ultimates are never very reliable. So what is the +2, create a couple tokens? That's not bad. Free 2 tokens every turn. That's decent.
Protects itself a little bit.
Sure, you can draw some cards to sack them later on. I don't mind this card a lot. It's a very nice power level. It's not broken, but it's decent.
Yeah, and it's interesting to wonder what it can partner with where it will be broken, because I feel like it's a powerful ability. People really freaked out about, I think mostly about that ultimate, which, like, guys, I don't know. I don't freak out about the ultimate. You know what I mean? It's
well, how many commanders could you possibly steal where you can actually use them effectively?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I think that's a powerful. It is a powerful ability, but I don't think you're ever going to see it happen. I mean, he does get the +2, and if you're in a Planeswalker theme deck, obviously there's a lot of things you can do, but I think in general this is fine. It's a good card. I don't mean it's fine like it's just fine. Like, I think it's a good and powerful, maybe one of the more powerful partners you can have. But I think, like, as far as like doing anything to the format, I think it's totally fine. I think the power level is okay. I like it. It's fun. We'll see. It's gonna be maybe I'll hate it when I play against it and be like, it's too good. We'll see though. This one, when you the first time Tevesh dies and you go to play it again, it's nice because you can sing the song, the Zat came back the very next day. You thought he was a goner, but the Zat came back. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the next turn. But anyways, another return. I mean, this was a return of a beloved Magic character, as well as Baron, as well as Tormod. We see Tormod get his first card. Tormod the Desecrator, 3 and a black for a legendary zombie wizard. A 4/2 that says whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. And of course, partner. So turns out it is truly Tormod's crypt, because if you use Tormod's crypt on yourself, you will get a zombie. This is the thing, though. Yeah. Whenever one or more leave your graveyard, you create one. So if you do
Delve
Tormod's,
only gives you one.
Yeah, and Tormod's crypt altogether only gives you one, even though you could hit your whole graveyard. I mean, I guess maybe it's too powerful to every time a creature card gets exiled or something. Maybe that was too easy, too powerful to have partner. I don't know.
Does the Relic of Progenitus target? Can you target yourself with that and remove one?
And then choose? Yes, I think you can. Yes. So those abilities are certainly still there. So not everything works well with Tormod, but the ones where it's like exile target card, or if you're ever doing delve or escape and you do just nab the one, great, do it. And that way,
flashbacking cards, like any casting cards from your graveyard,
it's true.
Making cards leave for any reason.
Yeah, it's true. It is any reason. So that's interesting. I think I like this. I think this is going to be a nice partner for something that cares about sacrificing things and graveyard interactions and so on.
Yeah, I love seeing that theme across the black partners. I think this would be a very exciting set to draft.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So the last mono black partner commander, Mira, Thorn of the Glade, 1 and a black for a legendary elf scout, 1/2. Whenever Mira, Thorn of the Glade, or another elf you control dies, you may pay 1 colorless, or 1 generic, and 1 life. If you do, draw a card. Partner. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but it's a hard-working commander, right?
It's a blue-collar commander living in the Rust Belt. Just working hard
belt
for
of
you.
The Glade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just doing some work, in an elf deck. Sure. I mean, there's not much to say about it. If you want her as your commander, I suppose, if you want an elf deck, and if you wanted the 99 as well. Okay, let's move on. We got red. Wow, we're kind of going through these a little faster than I thought.
Well, we're not even halfway.
Okay. All right. Red commanders begin with Elena, Kessig Trapper. Again, one of the very early ones to get revealed. 4 and a red for a 4/3 legendary human scout with first strike. You can tap Elena and add an amount of red equal to the greatest power among creatures you control that entered the battlefield this turn. And it has partner. We need big creatures, but they don't need to be red.
Correct.
Red mana, it gets created, but it's the power of just whatever creature it was. So if you basically kind of reads, you get like one free-ish creature, depending on obviously the type of deck you're running. I feel like I feel like if you're running green with her, you're gonna be able to go like pay for, some big 6 mana 6/6 or 8 mana whatever, and then just tap Elena and basically get that mana back again, right? The closer you can get to CMC and power level is nice for her.
Well, and let's not forget, like, there's lots of ways to make 4/4 tokens, either angels or beasts. Like, if you can do that on the cheap or for free, and you can.
That's
so,
true.
like, that's just a free 4 mana every turn if you've got something like that going on. I do not mind that.
I'm sure there's a lot of broken creatures, too, where it's like a very low, CMC for a very high power level, and you have to pay some other price for that, and we can make that work.
What about, Akiri is an original partner who has a variable power. So you could cast Akiri for 2 mana and their power might be 8.
Yeah.
And so there's 8 mana back right now. You've made 6.
That's interesting. And like 5 mana is kind of high, it's up there. But a 4/3 first strike, like that's a reasonable body. Four powered first striker. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. Oh, so let's go to Breach's Brazen Plunderer. 3 and a red for a legendary goblin pirate. 3/3 with menace. Whenever one or more pirates you control, that's a common theme here. Whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, exile the top card of each of those opponents' libraries. You may play those cards this turn, and you may spend mana as though or mana of any color to cast them. Partner. Obviously, Malcolm is going to be amazing with that, but any pirates, right? This is just great. Being able to cast spells off the top of your opponent's deck is an extremely powerful thing. It gives you access to colors you may not have access to, and the look on your opponent's face when you take something great of theirs is delicious.
I like this being the red way of drawing cards, obviously, and it's kind of a mix. It's very interesting though. Blue and black kind of get this ability too, right? And those are the pirate colors, so it's all kind of mixes in nicely.
Yeah.
To see this on a mono red commander, it's interesting how they've kind of blurred the lines on that skill and where it belongs and what part of the color pie it belongs in. But I love Breaches, and like you said, goes well with Malcolm and goes well with a bunch of other pirates, I'm sure. So very cool. I think it's good and powerful. I also the menace is nice there too. All right. Next we have Draco the Shipwrecker. Speaking of pirates, this one is a 6 and a red, so 7 mana for a 7/5 legendary giant pirate. At the beginning, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of artifacts and or creatures. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this way, and 2 less to cast for each other artifact or creature you've sacrificed this turn. So it can already be sacrificed, and then you can cast. Then you can do it. Anyways, trample and partner. So this is like a cool ability, right? Like to be able to make this cost a bunch less. But then it's you're getting a 7/5 trample, which is not bad, but you know what I mean? I don't know.
There are treasures floating around, and if you sack a treasure, that makes it 3 less. 2 for the sack, and then 1 for the mana the treasure made. Yes, a 7/5 trample, otherwise vanilla, is nothing amazing, but that's commander damage, and Draco, you can engineer a deck where Draco doesn't really ever cost a lot. Like, you can keep getting him out there.
I bet you if you're making a proper commander deck, not inside of this draft environment, I feel like if you're making Draco as one of your partners, he's never going to cost more than single red plus whatever treasures you tapped, right? I think
we probably want that stuff in the graveyard.
Yeah, exactly. So in that case, Dargo's probably going to be pretty good for those decks then.
Well, quick question. How big is that lobster he's holding?
Is that what that is? A lobster?
Wait, he's got one of the claws in his mouth.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the other thing. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That lobster has to be like 15 feet tall.
Man, I've been to the aquarium. I know that when lobsters get that big, they're blue.
Ah, interesting.
So let's talk about that for a sec.
Okay.
And actually, aren't lobsters only really red when you cook them? So he cooked this lobster.
Oh,
because otherwise lobsters are like that black and like kind of orange spots and
yeah.
Again, blue if they're really huge and at an aquarium. So yeah, Dargo here cooked this lobster and he's eating it. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the red. Not every color seems to have a Planeswalker commander, but red does. Jeska, thrice reborn. 2 and a red for a legendary Planeswalker, Jeska. Starts with 0 loyalty. However, Jeska enters the battlefield with a loyalty counter on it for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. Interesting that it specifies, so you can't bounce it back to your hand and cast it. It has to come from the command zone. Mm-hmm. So Jeska herself on the first cast has a loyalty of 1. Here's the abilities. 0, choose target creature until next turn. If that creature would deal combat damage to one of your opponents, it deals triple that damage to that player instead. -X, Jeska Thrice Reborn deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets. So Jeska's doing triple damage divided by, so -1 is like 1 damage here, 1 damage there, 1 damage there. You're doing 3 total spread out over 3 targets. It can be any targets, it can be players. So like that could just do a lot of damage to the table.
Yeah, the only problem is that it's tough to get a lot of loyalty on Jeska. Like the first time you cast her, she comes in with 1, and then obviously second time 2, and if you have another partner, maybe there's a world where you can get her to like 4. And
yeah,
it's
but
like
I mean, what about Dargo, right? Like Dargo hits hard, and if you're tripling Dargo,
I'm not saying she's not good. I'm saying that for the -X.
Oh, sure. I don't think we'll be using that one too
long. Exactly. Like you're not going to be able to splash a ton of damage around with her as far as that goes, like the -X ability. However, the 0, the tripling damage from a single creature means that yes, Dargo is all of a sudden a one-hit kill.
Yes.
Because
he has trample, so
it specifically is combat damage. Good to know, right? Yeah. And it is that creature that's dealing the combat damage, so it does work with commander damage. So Dargo and Jeska are probably pretty good friends.
Very good friends.
Okay, then moving on. Next red commander with partner is Cutis Emberclaw, familiar, 1 and a red for a 1/1 elemental lizard. Legendary. Whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent, and it has partner. So you kind of turn your commander in your other commander, I should say, or Cutis himself into Hydra Omnivore like ability.
Yes.
Important to note with this ability though, it does not work with commander damage. Commander damage is only combat damage, as we just noted with Jeska. And while Jeska works because it allows that creature to do 3 times that number of damage, Cutis deals so the commander still deals the damage, but it deals it to other other players. So that's like additional damage. It doesn't count as combat damage.
That's right.
It just also deals that much damage. It's not doing it in combat. It's like a different thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I did probably a terrible job of explaining that, but definitely does not work. You can't just kill everyone at the same time with, 21 commander damage from one source with this guy.
Right. But as we all know, if you're doing 21 damage to everybody, they might be close to dead anyway.
Exactly. You're doing fine.
Of damage.
You're doing just fine, yeah. But this is a nice one, a nice little guy to add into, again, like, I mean, the giant keeps looking better and better. Dargo looks, looks good with Cutis, looks good with Jeska. Like maybe I was a little quick to judge him.
I mean, Dargo was also a pirate, so it helps with breaches too.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, you're right.
It's like Dargo is the captain of all the red commanders.
There's a lot of great red commanders, including this next one.
Ooh, Krark the Thumbless, 1 and a red, legendary goblin wizard, 2/2. This is Krark whose thumbs already exist as artifacts.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's thumbless because their thumbs are artifacts. I just love it. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, return that spell to its owner's hand. That means you don't get it. It goes back to your hand. It's like it's been bounced. There was a moment where I'm like, wait, but is the spell still on the stack and the cards in your hand? No, it's off the stack.
I thought the same thing, yeah.
If you win the flip, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So, it's like an advanced coin flip. It's high risk, high reward. However, this is a set with a ton of Cascade in it, and Cascade is a cast trigger. So if you cast an instant with Cascade, you get that Cascade, and then we'll see if that card comes back to your hand or if you double it up. So Krark is all right if you build around him.
Yeah, and it's kind of a narrow build because you have to be prepared to have a lot of your stuff bounced back. But so you have to include a lot of stuff that doesn't mind if that happens, like you're saying, like Cascade and stuff. Yeah, when I first read Krark, I definitely thought there's no downside. Like you just,
yes,
it's almost like buyback for free. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Wicked. I was like, how great is that?
Oh, but I want to lose flips.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But no. Krark is definitely it's a downside. But like you said, build around it and it's good. I'm actually very excited about Krark. I will say this. In any game you ever want to play with me, if your Krark is your commander, the silver bordered Krark's other thumb is 100% a legal card.
It has to be.
In fact, I kind of just want them to print that in black border. Like it
has to be.
The coin flipping deck is such a small part of Magic and Commander in general. Like I think do it. Just print it in black border.
Yep.
Next we have Rock. Man, all of these red commanders we've been reading all kind of had like a nice little impact on people. Were very excited about them, and Rock is one of them. Son of Raga. 0 mana. That's right. 0 mana for the legendary Kobold Warrior. It's a 0/1. It has First Strike, Menace, Trample, and it has Partner. It also has the little red symbol there to denote that it is a red card because it doesn't have red in its CMC, right? Or in its mana cost. So yeah, Rock is a throwback to the Kobolds of Care Keep, a 0 mana card for an 0/1 with like no ability basically. So what do you do with this? Well, there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. Obviously, Voltron seems good. Anything to power this guy up is probably pretty great. But there's also a lot of just shenanigans where you can just cast this guy for free, Cloudstone Curio, and like other Kobolds of Care Keep, and just you're starting to loop, zero free spells. And then, of course, there's lots of things you can do once you've got an infinite, spell loop thing going on. So whenever you see that 0 mana cost, be aware that it is probably a lot more powerful than it looks, and I do think that that's true for Rock.
Yep. I love the benchmark of like what you can get for nothing.
Yeah.
No power, minimum toughness, no cost. You're allowed to have First Strike, Menace, Trample. Okay. Think
about this with Jessica, free. There's an additional loyalty counter for Jessica, right? That's kind of interesting. Yeah. Any of the sacrifice one with Tevesh Sad, you could just get to sack this play it for free, sack it. Who cares? It's a commander, so you get that extra bonus. Yeah, interesting.
Real shame. This will be so hard to draft.
It'll be hard to draft?
Just because of the times we're living in.
Oh,
like
yes.
By the time it's draftable, will it still be on shelves, right?
Yes, I know. It's almost like, I know they say they're just going to keep printing it or whatever, but even in, this, we might not be having vaccines for another year. Like, this set deserves like a re-release when there is no pandemic. It does. It truly does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. One more red partner commander. Toggle Goblin Weaponsmith. 2 and a red legendary Goblin Artificer 2/2. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, landfall, create a colorless equipment artifact token named Rock with equipped creature has 1 untap, sacrifice Rock. This creature deals 2 damage to any target, and the Rock has equip 1.
He's so proud of his rock. Look at him.
Yeah.
I made this. I made this.
It's the perfect rock. I mean, that's a good rock.
It's a pretty good rock. I know.
One tap, do too much everywhere. You can't re-equip it. The rock is gone afterwards. That kind of sucks. But landfall, we're probably, if you cast Toggle early, you can probably expect 5 more land drops, maybe 6 or 7 if you've got a lot. So that's quite a few rocks to toss around.
Yeah, Toggo, Akiri comes to mind.
Yeah.
Making a bunch of anything that makes a bunch of equipment. There was one of the very first ones we read, not a Chroma, but the one that it works really well with a lot of the white partners. There's the one that equips equipment for free.
Oh,
which is great. Yes. Toggo's gonna go well with any of that kind of stuff. Anything that cares about having a bunch of artifacts on the battlefield, obviously, because we're gonna get one for every landfall trigger. I think Toggo is a very versatile card, actually, because sometimes you just don't even care that it's equipment, and sometimes you really care that it's equipment, and sometimes you're going to care more about the damage. So, great design. We've got to say, I think there's some really excellent design and excellent, the way they've made the partners be able to go all over the map, all over the color pie so far. We're only at red, but, I think it's impressive.
Agreed. Very,
very good. And it's going to be great for the draft environment. It's going to be great for Commander as well. I love Toggo. Okay. Is that it for
Is it for red?
Red. Yes, it is.
Green.
Moving on to green. Okay. First up, we have Anara, Wolvid Familiar. 3 and a green for a 4/4 legendary wolf beast. Very interesting that they added beast for some reason. Because it looks just like a wolf to me. Anyways.
Oh my goodness. You know me and magic types.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it.
Although I guess it has antlers, so there you go.
Okay.
As long as it's your turn, commanders you control have indestructible. Powerful ability.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, man. Anara.
4/4 for 4, not bad.
Not bad at all. 4/4 for 4. You come out. It has indestructible when it's your turn, so it can attack. That's the main thing, right? You're going to be able to attack and or enable any kind of weird board wipes on your turn are obviously going to be do really well with this because your commanders are going to be able to survive. So
yeah.
I think it's going to be a nice little utility partner commander. Just a matter of who do you want to pair it up with. Are we going to pair this up with a Chroma and all, anyone else? Yeah, we'll see.
Or perhaps Gilanra?
Yeah, Gilanra.
Collar of Wirewood. 2 and a green. Legendary Elf Druid 1/2. Tap. Add green. When you spend this mana to cast a spell with converted mana cost 6 or greater, draw a card. Partner.
Okay.
You know what? Mana dorks help you cast 6 drops better. So, and I'm also drawing cards, which means I'm going to have more 6 drops to cast using the mana that Gilarna gives me. This is great.
Maybe just the simple fact that this is a 3 mana, rampant growth, essentially, right? It's a 3 mana Land of War Elves is just good enough to have this as a partner. Maybe it's just we're guaranteed ramp on turn 3. That's pretty powerful.
Guaranteed. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Even though it is a creature and all that, and it can't tap the turn it comes in, I still think all of those things are still worth it to have this as a partner. Think about that as a companion. Imagine there was a companion that was just a Land of War Elves. Forget it. Be broken. Okay. Gilanra, very good. And it's an uncommon. Phew, not going to be too much. All right. Moving on. Halana. Or Halana. Kessig Ranger. 3 and a green for a 3/4 legendary human archer with reach. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 generic. When you do, that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. So it's like a Warstorm Surge, but you have to pay for it and it can only hit creatures.
Man.
But not a bad, but still, honestly, not a bad ability to have on a commander, right? That's the thing, is that we always have access to it. So,
yeah,
not bad.
I'm going to engineer ways to cast big power creatures for cheap so I can afford to do that.
Yes, absolutely. And this is just a great 99 card for so many decks. This one, I think, was spoiled with the red The red one that taps,
yes.
right?
Yes.
That taps for mana for
Elena.
Yeah, that Elena and Helena. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I like this card. I think it's good. I think this is a fine partner to partner with something big even would be good.
So next up is Iktekik, Salvage Splicer. 4 and a green, legendary human artificer. When Iktekik enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. Splicers, we've seen these a million times.
Yeah.
Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield on any side of the board, it doesn't say yours, put a +1/+1 counter on Iktekik and a +1/+1 counter on each golem you control. Partner. That's a lot of +1/+1 counters for artifacts. Artifacts go to the graveyard very easily, quite often. So Iktekik is gonna get big.
Yeah, interesting. So this is a fun one to partner with, obviously, the blue and some of the blue and black artifact stuff we're seeing. Even the red ones, of course, I think is going to be, like, there's a lot of red artifact interaction. But white is also a real option here too, because if you're building a commander deck out of this guy and a partner, like, you want to include the other splicers, I feel like, right?
Right.
And most of the splicers appear in green and white. It's interesting, I wonder, and I bet you they will at some point. And also, I bet you the reason there isn't is there's a good reason in the story or something. But there's no black and red splicers. They're all in Bant colors.
I wonder if that has to do with the fact that was the Phyrexian set. So maybe black and red were too busy being Phyrexian stuff. Yeah,
well, they are Phyrexian also, though.
I don't know.
It's weird. Anyways, I don't know the storyline. I'm sure someone else has a better idea of that. But it would be, yeah. It's cool to see another splicer. I love it. I'm excited to see it.
Yep.
And I like this card a lot. Next is Kamal, another beloved Magic character. Back again. Kamal, Heart of Krosa. 6 green. So 8 mana. That is a lot. For a legendary human druid, 5/5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. So at the beginning of combat, you just get overrun. You just get an obscenely powerful card. Even in its regular 5 mana version, Overrun is a good card in Commander. Kamal, you get it. That's probably why he costs 8.
Yeah.
He also has the ability of 1 and a green. Until end of turn, target land you control becomes a 1/1 elemental creature with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. It's still a land.
So if your opponents didn't die that turn and they let you untap with Kamal, you're putting a bunch more essentially 4/4 tramplers with indestructible and vigilance on there.
Yeah.
Kamal's great. Expensive, but you're getting your money's worth.
Obviously, token strategies and go wide is going to be the best thing to do here. But if you can build up a big creature too, just giving it trample and 3/3/3 isn't terrible. But 8 mana is a lot, though. Let's not lie. 8 mana is a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot to get to.
It's true, but that is the game-winning. This is a game-winning play, so I think 8 is fair for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would hope that this wouldn't be costed any less than an actual overrun.
Yes,
it's pretty wild.
This one's interesting. Kodama of the East Tree, 4 green, legendary creature spirit, 6/6 with reach. Kodama's reach. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, that includes lands, if it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability, what is the ability you ask? The ability that says you may put a permanent card with equal or a lesser converted mana cost from your hand onto the battlefield. You can't get less converted mana cost than a land. But so if you cast any creature, you get to put a land in for free or a cheaper creature for free. just put it in there. If you can cast, and if you want to use that land to cast another creature, you're allowed to put another land into play. And so you could just dump almost your whole hand if the balance is right.
This seems like the first one I've seen where this is a partner and this is maybe too good. This is like a little broken. This has some possibilities, I think, just in general, where it's like, okay, this is a bit much. And because it's every time another permanent comes into play under your control, right? It just doesn't, it just can't have been a chain of putting it on with that ability and then that ability. And that doesn't work. It's only one. But like, you could be, like you said, it's like casting something, dropping lands, and then all of a sudden, I guess what? I can cast another thing. Now I'm going to play this. And like, I think there's some busted combos you can do with Kadama, and I think it probably shouldn't have partner. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know if it's broken with any I don't know if it's broken with any specific partners, but it's definitely very powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Next we have Numa, Joraga Chieftain, 2 and a green for a 2/2. Elf Warrior. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay XX. When you do, distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of target elves, and she has partner. Yeah, again, same thing with the previous, the black elf there. This is another elf. Obviously, we're going to put this in an elf deck. It's a great commander for elf decks and pumping stuff up. But otherwise, it only works with elves, so there's not much else to say.
Sure, so let's move on to Slurk, All Ingesting, 5 and a green, legendary creature Ooze. 0/0 on the card, but Slurk enters the battlefield with 5 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever Slurk or another creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that has a +1/+1 counter on it. Partner. It's confusing. So it starts with 5 counters, and whenever anything with a counter on it dies, all the creatures that already have counters get bigger. But if you don't have counters on it, Slurk don't notice you. You are not a thing to Slurk if you have no counters on you.
Yeah, I love Slurk. I love this new kind of take on +1/+1 counters, and Oozes, of course, love to do this. It's a real green-black flavor, so you're gonna... we've been through all the black partners, so I wonder... Nothing jumped out at me as really working especially well with Slurk, at least that I can remember. But anyways, I like this card a lot. I like an Ooze commander, so this is cool.
Yep. That's it for the partner commanders. They're all monocolored. You can combine them in any ways. I'm sure there's a million cool things we haven't covered yet, but we'll discover them as time goes on. But we're now going to move on to all the legendaries that don't have partner. These ones are all 2 or 3 colors. So we're going to start with the guilds. We're just going to go down the list here in no particular guild order that I'm aware of. But we're going to give you 2 of each at a time in each guild. We are going to start with the Azorius guild by kind of random choice. I don't know how we chose them, but nonetheless, we got Kanji, Sky Warden, 3 white blue, legendary bird wizard, 3/3, flying and vigilance. Whenever Kanji attacks, attacking creatures with flying get +2/+0 until end of turn. Whenever Kanji blocks, blocking creatures with flying get +0/+2 until end of turn. Neat. Simple. Yeah. But, flyers are already evasive, so they tend to hit more often than not. And giving them +2/+0 hits hard enough. So a lot of little birds in the air, Kanji does serious damage.
It's an interesting callback to the old style of, I don't know, this type of ability you'd see a lot more. And I think specifically the old Kanji card did something similar to this with feather counters and stuff like that. So
right,
it's a nice little callback. I mean, this is a new bird commander. Can always use one of those. Not crazy powerful, but cool. Okay, next. Azorius. Quain. Itinerant Meddler. Yeah, right? White blue for a 1/3 rabbit wizard. Tap. Each player may draw a card. Then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. So, it's a group hug commander. It's a Azorius little group huggy thing. It's a bunny rabbit who's a wizard. You can, if you got some other wizard stuff, maybe you can tap and untap this little guy and have the whole crew draw a bunch of cards and gain a bunch of life. Interesting. I don't love group hug decks so I wasn't particularly stoked about this guy, but there are people out there who are excited about a card like this. So cool.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? I love the art. Quain's
Quain is cute.
Yeah.
So there's two legendaries of every guild. The next pair are Dimir, Araumi of the Dead Tide, 1 blue-black legendary merfolk wizard, 1/4. Tap. Exile cards from your graveyard equal to the number of opponents you have. Usually 3, most 4-play games. So I'm going to shortcut that and say tap, exile 3 cards from your graveyard. Target creature card in your graveyard gains Encore until end of turn. The Encore cost is equal to its mana cost. We haven't talked about Encore yet, but it's a new mechanic they've introduced, and the reminder text tells us what that does. Exile the creature card and pay its mana cost. For each opponent, create a token copy that attacks that opponent this turn if able. They gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. We can get cards in our graveyard a lot of easy ways. And for free, just a mere tap and exiling 3 other cards, we can get multiple copies of any crazy creature we can put in there with ETB abilities, with that attacks incredibly well. As long as it's not legendary, you're hitting everybody with it. You're getting huge abilities. This ability is explosive.
Yeah, this is an awesome. We just read 2 Azorius ones that I think are just meh, whereas Araumi is like sick. Like this is a fun and exciting card.
I do want to clarify, you do have to pay its mana cost. You have to cast it again. Yes. It's not like you can't just do it for free free. No. But it's very little additional cost.
Yeah, and you do have to have some, if you want to do it a bunch, you do have to have a bunch of cards to exile along with it, right? So it's not that it's just like automatic, you're going to get this no problem every time, but I think that just the first couple of times you do this with Araumi, even the first time you do this, you're going to feel so good because it's going to be a creature that hits and does something, or
or Grey Merchant of Asphodel.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like it doesn't even you don't even care about the attacking because you're going to sacrifice them first to some other effect anyways. Like just the ability to get 3 creatures back is going to be crazy. Anything back that cares about being sacrificed again is going to be amazing. Like, yeah, this is a very fun and I think very powerful card, and you're going to see some really cool builds around this. I'm excited to brew with this. I love this card. This might be one of the top ones I'm most excited about seeing and seeing what it does and stuff. Yeah, very, very cool. Okay, let's move on. The other Dimir partner we have, commander we have is Nimris, Una's Trickster, 3 blue-black for the legendary Fairy Knight. It's a 1/6 with flash and flying, and whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of those cards into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So, obviously wants to be in a really flash-heavy deck, playing a lot of instants, playing at instant speed, because every time you do stuff, you're going to be able to draw additional cards and get that selection. And, hey, if you care about it, put that card in your graveyard. So all very Dimir blue and black stuff going on here. Interesting. I think you're going to be able to build a cool deck around this.
Yeah. I think so too. Counter spells.
Yep.
It's fun.
Yeah, and just it's good call. It's not going to be a super I feel like Araumi is like really flashy. A lot of that's a big cool ability, whereas Nimris is a little more, hey, you cast it into speed, hey, get a little card selection, get a little draw, a little bit of value there. So it's different, but still pretty good. Yeah.
Let's move on to the Rakdos 2 commanders. We'll start with Blim, Comedic Genius. 2 black-red, legendary imp, 4/3 with flying. Whenever Blim deals combat damage to a player, that player gains control of target permanent you control. You give them a permanent of yours. Then each player loses life and discards cards equal to the number of permanents they control but don't own. I hit you once, I gotta give you something dumb, you lose a life, discard a card. If I can do that again, you do for 2. It's not long before you're not able to... Everyone does that, right? each player. So like if I
That
pass,
but then each player does that. Yes,
that's what I mean. Yeah. So I give the thing to the player I've hit, but as I spread it around, everybody's discarding cards as I hit other people with it. I mean, I don't know how many combat steps you're going to get with Blim. People are probably not going to let you hit a bunch of times. But sure. That by definition is the funniest joke in MTG.
Bruce, Pryor, Carlin, Seinfeld, Blim. These are the top names in comedy.
Yes, and look, right, for context, the funniest joke you can do in MTG is dealing someone 4, giving them something, and making them discard a card. Like
genius, comedic genius. Get this guy a Netflix special.
Yeah.
Blim. Blim is awesome though. The anti-Zedrew kind of, right?
Kind of.
Oddly enough, would love to be in a Zedrew deck if it were at all possible, which of course it isn't. But still, love Blim. Very, very. I love it. This is the type of design I'm there for, big time. A new take on Rakdos, even. Cool. So, what's the other Rakdos commander? We have Jury, Master of the Review. So this is so Blim puts on the show, and Jury does the review.
Yeah.
But it is review, REVUE. So actually, Jury's putting on her own show. Jury Master of the Review is black-red for the 1/1 human shaman. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Jury. And when Jury dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Pretty classic Rakdos stuff there.
Yeah, very similar to Dreadhorde. Is it Dreadhorde Butcher? What's the one that just gets bigger, and when it dies, you fling its power? Anyway, it's a built-in fling. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This is sacrifice permanents making this bigger. That one's when it hits, gets bigger. But yes.
Right. Jury has the potential to get very large very fast if you set it up beforehand.
I would really love it if it was whenever anyone sacrificed a permanent, you could do it. That would be.
Yeah.
But maybe that's too much.
Yeah.
I like it. I still like Jury the way it is, and I think that this is a good commander. 2 mana too, like right? Like this is
right.
This is you're gonna be able to get Jury down when you want and have her get in there. Who's next? Oh, this is people went nuts for this one.
Yeah, we got this is the Gruul pair. They're not partners though. Hans Eriksson, just a regular name. Hans Eriksson. 2 green, red, legendary human scout, 1/4. Whenever Hans Eriksson attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and attacking defending player or a planeswalker they control. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. When you put a creature card onto the battlefield this way, it fights Hans Eriksson. So, if you get an enormous creature out for free, that's great, but Hans is dead.
Yeah, he couldn't run.
Akhan's Run.
This is the Hans from Akhan's Run because of Safi. Eric's daughter is Hans. Look, there she is.
In the background,
and she's about to yell Akhan's Run. I love it. It's it's a magic joke we get to see the full fruition of, right?
He's stopping to smell the roses.
He is. He absolutely is. And he says, nothing could ruin such a fine day, Safi. He's wrong. Because I'm pretty sure he dies here now. But yeah, what an interesting ability for this card to have, right? Like, you put something on and then your own commander fights it. It's like, okay. So this is an interesting dinosaur commander, kind of, if we can keep Hans alive. That's the big question, right? How can we keep Hans alive while he's fighting all these monsters we're playing? Vigor is a great creature with Hans. There's a lot of interesting combinations, and I love it when a commander doesn't jump out off the page at you as being like particularly good, but when you see something with this much text and you're like, this isn't that good, at least there's something you can do with it that's interesting. There's going to be something where it's going to be like, actually, this guy can do some interesting stuff. So I love that they printed this card. It's really cool. Next is Tuya Bearclaw, 1 red green, 2/2 legendary human warrior. Whenever Tuya attacks, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control. Again, another just kind of a classic ability here. This one doesn't inspire me too much. It's just kind of a basic ability. This really doesn't even feel to me like a legendary ability, to be honest with you.
Give her haste.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an uncommon for the draft set, so I guess maybe they didn't want to make it too powerful. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. This leaves a lot to be desired, I think.
I agree. Let's move on to the Selesnya 2 commanders, legendaries. Starting with Lathiel, the Bounteous Dawn. 2 green, white, legendary unicorn, 2/2 with lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, Lathiel has lifelink, so attacking is a way to gain some life. Distribute up to that many +1/+1 encounters among any number of other target creatures. Doesn't have to be your creatures, probably will be. So if you have some lifelinkers, you put counters on it, those lifelinkers gain you more life, and those counters can go on them to get even bigger. Sort of a built-in Voltron kind of thing.
Yeah, and they can go on any, like you said, any target creatures. You can distribute them kind of any way you want to, right?
Yeah. If you don't want to put them all, but I'm assuming you got a few lifelinkers, so you can spread it around to gain a lot of life. Yeah, a lot of counters down.
I like it. I think it's good. It's a little like straightforward. We know what we're going to do with this card, but I think it
nothing wrong with that.
No, exactly, nothing wrong with it. And like that combination of lifelink plus +1/+1 counters, I feel like we don't see that a ton. Like, so I'm happy to get it. Next we have Hamza, Guardian of Arashin or Arashin, whatever. 4 green, white, 6 mana for the 5/5 Elephant Warrior. Legendary creature, of course. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So that's cool. And then creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it.
Now we're talking.
Right? So now we're getting some big discounts here. Hamza himself gets a big discount if we're playing a bunch of stuff. This is a fun card. This is cool. I mean, like being able to like make everything cheap basically for all the creatures we have out. There's some cost there, right? We need to have those creatures on the board. If you don't have any creatures on the board, this does very little. But if we get a board full of creatures, you're gonna be able to do some pretty busted stuff.
A little bit of an Animar thing going on.
Cheating that mana cost, man. That's just yeah. You get into dangerous territory when you do that, especially on a commander. So Hamza could be.
Let's get dangerous.
Let's get dangerous. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Let's go into Orzhov. Lisa.
I feel like the magic version of Lisa is just to add a weird E in it for no reason. Yeah.
I'm gonna call her Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa.
Lisa, Shroud of Dusk. 2 white, black. Legendary Angel, 5/5. Flying in lifelink. But rather than pay 2 for each previous time you've cast the spell from the command zone in this game, pay 2 life that many times. She converts her own commander tax into life payments. You don't get to pay more mana, you have to pay more life. That's the thing. You get a 5/5 flying lifelink, so, I mean, 5 to start for a 5/5 flying lifelink. You hit once, she's pays for her next one and most of the one after that. So I think you're doing all right. However, whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life.
That includes you.
That includes you. So like that light, well, I love the tension in this. I think it makes for a very interesting board state. Yeah,
I agree. I think they've seemed to have balanced this card fairly well, because playing spells and losing life, like that's a big enough cost, right? But in a life gain deck, this is the thing I'm a little worried about with this card. Anytime you basically say there's mana to be spent, but we don't have to spend it, like it's basically Phyrexian mana, except it's even better because it's 1 mana is to 1 life, right? For the commander tax. At least it still costs the 5 mana you need to pay. You can't swap that for life, of course. But man, you're starting to get into some, again, dangerous territory here where we're cheating mana costs. So Lisa essentially doesn't have a commander tax. Like, let's just say that it's you have to pay life, of course, but you're going to be in a deck where you're gaining tons of life, I imagine. So that's going to be fine. So I think it's a good card. I think it's like really good. And if you like partner this with things where you're gaining life on cast triggers and stuff like that. Sorry, I don't mean partner like the mechanic. I mean like build a deck where you're gaining life when you do stuff, that's going to just offset it. So you're going to be fine. I think Lisa's going to be a little, not broken, that's not the right word, but I think like high power, because there's going to be one of those commanders where you're not paying a commander tax, and we know that's tough. That's tough to deal with as a board. So, or as a table rather. So very good, I think. And also to note, she was the missing angel sister, with Gisela and Brea and yeah. She's the black one. So we had Linvala was the green one, right? So
Lisa.
There you go. Lisa. There she is. Okay. Next in the Orzhov colors, we have Thalice, Reverent Medium. 3 white black, legendary human cleric, 3/4. At the beginning of each end step, create X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of tokens you created this turn. So interesting. Anything where you kind of get a loop where you're making, tokens and you're losing them but gaining them, like that's obviously going to be really good. Feels like a great 99 creature to pair with what's her face there, the the Orzhov commander from Ravnica.
Teza Karlov.
Thank you, Sean.
Yes.
Teza. Yes. So many weird names that I'm trying to remember. It's because I could only think of Brea again. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yes, Teza seems like that's going to be really good with the Thalice. But Thalice is just good on her own, right? Like a token strategy, she's just going to back you up big time.
Yeah, it's like a doubling season with or anointed procession, I guess, is a better comparison. But instead of doubling your tokens, the extra ones are spirits.
Yeah, and it's delayed obviously too. But it is each end step. If somehow you create them on your opponent's like turn or something, you're gonna get that bonus there as well. I like this card a lot. I think it's really cool. Has a lot of good synergy. Yeah.
Let's go on to the Is It 2 Legendaries. This is starting with a Zara, Renegade Recruiter, 3 blue-red, legendary human pirate, 4/3 with flying. Whenever Zara attacks, look at defending player's hand. You may put a creature card from it onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. Return that creature to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Listen, we all know that commander decks are loaded with creatures with dirty ETB abilities that we're just gonna. So for Zara, you just get to be like, I'll take it, and then you can have it back, but you got to pay full price. I'm just going to attack, and then your thing is saying to you, Zara is like, I mean, it's like the ultimate judo commander. Zara's strength is as strong as your opponent's decks are.
Nice judo reference.
Yeah.
It's true. And this is actually, I think, at least it's a modified version, but I think it might even just straight up be a thing that we saw in the last unset, where you were able to take a card from your opponent's hand, put it onto the battlefield for some amount of time, and then it would return back to them. I'm actually pretty sure that was something that they tried out in the unset. And here it is now in a black border set.
There we go.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that. I think this ability is neat.
Yep.
And yeah, you're going to be able to get some powerful stuff going here. CVW, here we go. Next is the Izzet commander, Captain Vargas Wrath. So blue, red for the 1/1 legendary orc pirate. Whenever Captain Vargas Wrath attacks, pirates you control get +1/+1 until end of turn for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. Like I said, when I was talking about the partner commanders with the pirates and stuff, we're seeing some cool new pirate commanders. I just don't know if this guy is the one I'm going to choose for my, like, if I'm making a pirate deck, I don't think I'm picking this guy.
No.
It's a nice ability to have. I might include him in the 99, but I don't think he's going to be he's not my guy.
Whoever made this card was aware of Luis Scott Vargas, right? Like, this has to be a tribute in some way.
Yeah, it must be.
Right? Like, you can't name anything Vargas without people automatically going to LSV.
Yeah. CVW. I mean, it would be interesting if somehow they used the initials somehow, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, that's a weird thing. And it's funny that they put it on like this card that doesn't feel like something very LSV like to me at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the Golgari set of cards. Abomination of Llanowar, 1 black-green legendary elf horror, star. It has vigilance and menace to begin with, and the power and toughness, which are stars, are each equal to the number of elves you control, plus the number of elf cards in your graveyard.
Yeah, so it's an elf ball.
Yeah, it is literally a ball of elves. An abomination. Yeah, vigilance and menace are pretty neat keywords on a commander. So to Voltron this up, like, you're always back for defense and it's hard to block. So, and with a lot of elves, you're very potentially making this creature pretty big. This is a strong Voltron contender, I think.
Yeah, this puts a different slant on the elves deck, I feel like, and
like black.
Yeah, black for sure. But like you can there's still some other red. There's still some other black and green elf decks you can put together, especially even just from this set, that are going to have a whole different feel. They're going to be more like, I don't know, go wide or whatever. Whereas this still does that, but also they can just be all in your graveyard. It's fine. So yeah. I like it. This next card is cool. Belbay, right? Belbay? Yeah. Belbay's kids. Yeah. Remember Belbay's Mira? Yeah. Belbay, Corrupted Observer, black-green for a 2/2. So 2 mana, 2/2. Legendary zombie elf. At the beginning of each player's post-combat main phase, that player adds colorless. And yes, colorless, not generic. It adds colorless for each of your opponents who lost life this turn. This is potentially a lot of mana to gain here.
Six mana in an average 4-player game if you do damage to each opponent.
It doesn't have to be damage. It's lost life. So
that's right. I say do damage. Yeah. But yeah. Like, so attacking is one of the easiest ways to achieve this. But anything with extort, like you pay the 1 black and every opponent loses 1 life. Like,
exactly.
There's some tricky ways to get around that where you're like, oh, and I got paid 1 extort and I get 6 mana back. Thank you.
Black is the main color for doing this, of course. The drain ability is going to be where you're gonna do this. We're gonna get this from. I think attacking is, like you said. Well, it's not even necessarily the easiest, right? Because they have a choice of whether or not they get through. But I know what you mean. Obviously, mechanically, it's kind of the easiest. Every creature can attack. But like, yeah, I think you're gonna rely more on stuff like draining and those types of abilities, sacrificing a Zulaport Cutthroat type thing, and then you're just gonna get 6 colorless mana at the post-combat main phase, and that's gonna be very powerful. You're gonna be able to cast some really big things and activate a lot of stuff. So I think this card is very powerful. Yeah. I'm interested to see what this can do.
Oh, we're already at Boros. Let's start with Rayav, Master Smith, and Master Beard Groomer as well.
Yes,
red and white for a legendary Dwarf Artificers, 2/2. Whenever a creature you control that's enchanted or equipped attacks, that creature gains double strike until end of turn. This is like as basic and simple of a Boros commander as you could imagine.
Yeah.
Right? It just rewards equipped and enchanted creatures, gives them double strike. We want to attack. Great.
Yeah, this feels a little similar to that Gruul one where I'm just like, is this legendary? I mean, yeah. I'm not saying it's not powerful. Like, double strike is a very powerful ability, but like, I don't know. Feels like any Boros card could do this anyways.
I kind of prefer the partner that can freely move equipment and auras wherever they want and partner with anyone else.
Yeah, well. Exactly, right? Yeah, Rayav is definitely one of those draft, like, low-powered commanders, and we're probably not going to build around it anytime soon. What about this one, though? Might be a little more interesting. Bel Borca. Bel Borca. I don't know. I think that name is really funny for some reason. There's something about the Borca that's making me laugh over here. Yeah. Anyways, Bel Borca, Spectral Sergeant. 2 red white, legendary spirit soldier, star 5 is the power toughness. I haven't seen this bit of text on a card in I think since I've started playing Magic. Note the converted mana cost of each card as it's put into exile.
You have to do it.
You must.
Whenever a card goes into exile for any reason, you have to note the converted mana cost.
It must be noted. By a notary. Change. Yeah. Bel Borca's Spectral Sergeant's power is equal to the greatest number noted for it this turn. And it says at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So we will note cards as they go into exile. We will note the mana cost. And as they do that, Belborca power equal to the greatest number. So however cards are exiled within a turn, that's going to be whatever the highest CMC was, that's Belborca's power. So if we sword something and that's the only thing we did, great. But then if we did his ability, we're at the beginning, okay, at the beginning of our upkeep, let's say the thing was obviously higher, then that's going to be it, and so on. So just note, that first line of text is very important. Note the converted mana cost of each card as it's put in exile. You're going to want to do that.
If you didn't exile a card, Borca's power is 0.
Yes.
You're most likely going to exile. Let's not forget, this is a set with a ton of Cascade in it. There's a lot of those effects where you exile cards temporarily and then you shuffle them back in.
Hang on. Sorry. I'm not sure it is only your stuff. Of each card as it's put into exile.
Oh, yes. No, you have to note every card.
So Belborca's power is equal to the greatest number noted for it this turn.
Right. But if it's not your turn, you can't elect to exile a card unless you have an ability.
Right.
So there's a very good chance no card was exiled on your opponent's turn.
But if something does get exiled, you will note it.
Yeah, we will note it because we have to. We have to.
We must note it.
Game loss.
So it isn't just So what I'm saying is just that it doesn't. It doesn't have to be your cards or you doing the exiling, right? Any exile effect will affect Belborca because it must be noted.
Right. I think Cascade and any of those other type of abilities where they say like exile a bunch of cards and then do something with them and then put them back in your graveyard or put them back in your library. They were exiled for a moment. Yep. So like they do count. Yep, so like if you're going to Cascade a 4-drop and you go like, I passed this 9-drop, I can't Cascade into it. Well, I'll keep going till I get a 2-drop. It's like, well, guess what? That 9-drop was exiled for a second.
Belborca, I like that a lot.
Belborca
del Dorca. Yeah.
Okay. That's the mood we're in. That's the mood we're in for a 2-hour podcast. Let's go to the Simic. Gore Muldrak. Amphenologist. These are just syllables. I'm just making shapes.
Belborca Gore
Muldrak Amphenologist. 1 green-blue legendary human scout. 3/2. You and permanents you control have protection from salamanders.
Great. Finally, Sean. Finally. Too many salamanders have been messing up my stuff, man. I've had enough of it.
Our meta is rampant with brutal salamander decks.
Salamander just heavy.
They're just ruining the meta. So, like, finally, the card we needed printed.
Finally, a guy holding a circular saw blade is going to do something about it.
Yeah. So, at the beginning of your end step, each player who controls the fewest creatures creates a 4/3 blue salamander warrior creature token.
Okay.
So we see why this is with this is a, so like if we have the fewest, we get a salamander. Great. If our opponents do, they also get one, but that one can't do anything from us, right? Like it can't block our things. It can't do us damage. It's allowed to attack us, but it can't do it. So like we don't care about those salamanders.
This is cute because you're like, aha, I have protection from salamanders, and then someone kills this guy and they're like, attack you with my salamander. And you're like,
sure.
Salamanders!
Yeah.
And then again, you're getting
killed.
They're
not going to kill you with a tribal salamander instance or sorcery.
I guess not, as long as this guy's out here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you better protect Gore Muldrak, otherwise those salamanders are coming for you. Yeah. Or maybe they're not because they're happy to get the salamanders. You know what I mean? Anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
But I still like the card. Honestly, I do. Anything new and weird, I like. So I'm interested to see how we can work with this card and make it good, you know? This is another good one. Simic. This is a really good one, I think. Emoti, Celebrant of Bounty. 3 green, blue, Naga Druid, legendary. 3/1, Cascade. Spells you cast with converted mana cost 6 or greater have Cascade. So
wow,
5 mana 3/1 with Cascade on it is good. Give all my 6 or greater CMC stuff. Cascade is good.
You can Cascade into a spell and Cascade that. Like you can Cascade has to be smaller CMC, but if your first one is a 9 and then you hit a 6, that 6 also cascades. You could get several spells out of this as long as they keep going down a little bit at a time.
Right. I see. So you will not do that with Emoti first off, right? You cast her for 5,
Right.
and that's you obviously you can't hit a 6-mana spell from that. But if I cast Emoti for 7,
Well, okay, we run into a problem because if you cast Emoti, you don't have Emoti to cascade.
you're right. But Emoti, right? Yes, you're right. Nope, you're right, because the cascade happens first, and then it's resolved first. Emoti's not on the battlefield. Yes, okay, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I'm just getting a little cascade heavy there, but I think this card's. If you like cascade,
it's super fun.
Hey dog, I heard you like cascade.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So where are we at? We're at the 3-color commanders now.
Kind of interesting that this is only a uncommon. That's kind of seems powerful for draft, but anyways.
Yeah. I guess the whole notion is like if you load your deck up with 6 drops, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Like you need to do something early, and then it's like,
Even just having the 5-mana cascade seems good though.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Yes, moving on.
Right. So there's 10 more commanders, and these are the 3-colored ones. In no particular order, but this is a cool stuff in here. Very cool stuff. Let's start with Nevinyrral Urborg Tyrant, the guy with the disc. 3 white, blue, black. This is Esper. Legendary zombie wizard. 3/6 hexproof from artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. Nevinyrral's disc. Those are the things Nevinyrral's disc destroys. When Nevinyrral enters the battlefield, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token for each creature that died this turn. And when Nevinyrral dies, you may pay 1. And when you do, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. He's Nevinyrral's disc on legs.
Yeah.
So I think the play pattern is going to be you're going to be able to somehow have Nevinyrral die either by sacking or in combat. You're going to pay the 1 and destroy everything, but it's still your turn, so you're going to pay more mana to bring him back and then get a million zombies. I think that's like the prime, most obvious big line for this guy.
What do you think about the idea of having a board wipe just attached to a commander like this? Like we've seen it before with
Massacre Girl.
Child of Alara. Yeah, I guess Massacre Girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely changes the game. Like if you're facing off against a player with a board wipe in their command zone, it really it's kind of like pre-stacks. Like it's like there's a way where like, well, I can't play anything because it's probably gonna die soon, so I don't know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're only gonna feel that way at a certain point in the game. You're not gonna feel that way right away. It's a 6-mana commander, and you need to be able to sacrifice it or have it die and pay the 1 and so on and so forth. So it's not just like, obviously it's not free, but it's pretty close, like you're saying, to having a board wipe in your command zone, which, as we've discussed on the show before, we don't like to run so many board wipes because it makes games last really long, and obviously there's still a good thing to, you want a couple, because you don't want to just be out right away when someone just gets a board state. You got to protect against board wipes. You got to put a little fear into them for that. But at the same time, I'm not going to run 5-6 board wipes. It just makes games last forever. What am I going to do with this commander? Like, you have to build around the ability of board wiping. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to. It's just there. So I'm not excited about the effect this guy will have on games, I guess. Yeah, obviously, I think it's good and powerful, but I'm not excited about what it's going to do.
I guess I just feel good that the commander tax will make Nevinyrral cost a lot pretty quick.
And it's going to destroy the artifacts you would use to ramp there.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And creatures and stuff. Obviously, if you have some way around that, that's going to be annoying, and you're going to want to do that. But yeah, it's not. That part's not free. So yeah. Okay. Maybe it's balanced. Maybe it's a little more balanced than I thought, but we'll see. Next we have what is this? Obeka. Brute Chronologist. 1 blue, black, red. Those are Grixis colors for the Ogre Wizard. 3/4. She says, tap. The player whose turn it is may end the turn. This is cool. This is cool to have on a commander. It's a powerful ability. Ending the turn sounds like a weird thing to do, but I mean, if you've played enough Commander, you'll probably come across someone who's using that, what is it, the disc? What's it called? Like, there's some...
Yes.
Sun something disc or something like that, where it just ends the turn, right? And you can only do it on your own turn. So it's very important that this says may end the turn, right? So you can't end anyone else's turn unless they want you to. Because that's a super powerful ability. Obviously, you just skip someone's whole turn, basically.
Well,
so
the reason they might is because ending the turn means this, like, the stack doesn't resolve, right? Whatever's on the stack. So there are worlds where, like, someone does something to an opponent on their turn, and you're like, hey, I could end this turn for you, and that thing won't happen to you. Do you want me to do that? Do you want to just to clear that stack for you? Like, I think that will happen sometimes.
I think so too. I think you're right. More often than not, though, this is going to affect your stuff that you're doing on your turn. Again, they may end the turn. So it says the player whose turn it is may end the turn. So it has to be your turn. But anyways, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you could do with this, blinking and exiling, shenanigans and ending the turn. Like you said, gets rid of the stacks. Like you can, for example, have Phage come in not from your hand and then end the turn while her trigger's on the stack to lose the game, right? So that's just like one of the things you can do. So obviously when you start fussing with the rules and stuff, you get really powerful stuff happening. So I think Becca is a really cool and fun commander to play with. This is going to be neat.
Yeah. Next we've got a Jund commander, Yurlock of Scorch Thrash. I'm just making mouth shapes.
Random word generator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
1 black, red, green, legendary Viashino Shaman, 4/4 with vigilance. A player losing unspent mana causes that player to lose that much life. Brings back mana burn. 1 and a tap. Each player adds black, red, green. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. I like it.
Mana burn's back.
Mana burn's back. Very cool.
It rarely comes up anyway.
Yeah.
But the ability to give you can net 2 mana for yourself, like that's ramp for yourself. But as long as each player they don't have instants, they're waiting to cast, right? That becomes dangerous when you're like, oh, I'll give you 3 mana. You're gonna take 3 damage. It's like, well, I'm gonna use that 3 mana to cast this spell then. So thank you.
Very important that the mana you're giving them isn't blue.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like that's very important.
Yes.
And it's black, red, green specifically that you're giving them. So obviously they need to be able to use that or treat it as colorless. So it's not dangerous to give free mana to people, but you will definitely you'll want to do it at a point where it makes sense for you, I guess. I don't know. But I just love the idea that we have a commander that brings back an old rule. Like, that's wild. Yeah. That's funny to me. So yeah, cool stuff. I love your luck. I mean, there's probably a bunch of new cards that we've printed that now, like, because mana burn hasn't been a thing for so long, that they're like awful with mana burn. Maybe. I don't know.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of one.
The only one I can think of is the one that was printed when mana burn was around, which is the one that like gives a bunch of free red mana every upkeep. But that's the thing that you would have, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, cool card though. I like the idea. Maybe we can work with it. Next we have Amareth the Lustrous. 3 green, white, blue. This is the Bant card, obviously. So 6 mana for a dragon. That is a 6/6 flying legendary creature. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it shares a card type with that permanent, you may reveal that card and put it into your hand. Cool. Again, just a bit of value. 6 mana, 6/6 flying dragon. Pretty like this really reminds me of the old Elder Dragons, right? In that way.
Yeah.
It's a big mana cost for a big creature with like a generally useful ability. A lot of people are excited to build Enchantress with this. I know people were talking about. It's a good way to get more enchantments going and stuff like that. Same thing could be said for artifacts though, and obviously lots of other things. So
also, like, what about like a where like maybe you run a few green, like it's a heavy creature deck and a lot of your creatures make a few tokens. It's like, okay, I got 5 tokens. That's 5 triggers. That's a creature in my hand. That's a creature in my hand. Oh, that one's not. So that one stays on the top. Okay, great. So like I drew 2 off of that one. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah, you want to be able to manipulate the top card of your library for those situations. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's cool, though. That's neat. I like that.
It's neat. Let's go to the Mardu commander. Gen Arcanum Weaver. Should just be Glenn, right?
We already have a Glenn. He's from The Walking Dead.
Oh, that's true. We have a Glenn in Magic.
We already have
I forgot already. I already forgot there's a Glenn in Magic. Okay.
Yeah, the secret layer drop, you know.
Yes, okay. Gen Arcanum Weaver, black, white, red. I read that backwards. Human Wizard 2/3. Pay Mardu, so red, white, black, tap. Sacrifice an enchantment. Return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is hard to do in Magic. It is hard to get it in to cheat out enchantments. MTG has always been very protective of enchantments. They're hard to tutor. They're hard to sneak out. The few things that do cost an arm and a leg in real life money because it's so rare. And that's because enchantments can do very broken things. So here we go. Like, here's finally a commander that makes that much easier.
Yeah.
You don't get access to blue or green. So there's a couple of dastardly ones you can't do, like Omniscience comes to mind.
Wait, that's not an enchantment?
Omniscience is an enchantment, right? It makes all your spells free forever.
Oh, it is an enchantment. What am I? Sorry,
Yeah.
I was thinking of a totally different card. Yes, yeah. Yeah, you're right. This is cool though because white and black have a good enchantment theme going on. You can get some really cool ones with that. I've never seen red be a part of enchantments at all, but I think that's exciting. It's cool to be able to mess with red enchantments, a Mardu enchantment thing, working with graveyard. I love it, man. About time.
And so we have a clue of how the MTG world works. If you have ever played with a sparkler at a fireworks thing and written your name in the air, you are weaving Arcanum.
Yeah, you are. That is Arcanum that you are weaving there. Also, if you've ever been at a rave.
Yes.
Glow
Whenever
sticks.
you wave a light around and make shapes, you're weaving Arcanum.
Absolutely. You've probably weaved a ton of Arcanum in your day, you know?
And I've weaved my name out of Arcanum so many times.
Oh, man. I just sometimes turn the sparkler like to give it a little bend and then just do the spin. I'm weaving all kinds of Arcanum out there.
Yeah.
All right. Next we have Averna, the Chaos Bloom. This is the Teamer commander, and it just costs 3. Green, blue, red. It's a elemental shaman. It's a 4/2. As you cascade, you may put a land card from among the exiled cards onto the battlefield tapped. So now every cascade not only nets you a free spell in your deck, it also is rampant growth. But even better because it doesn't have to be a basic. Now, given that you hit it. So here's the thing. I saw this card at first. I was like, this is busted. This makes Cascade even better. And it's like already really good and all this. But there's a lot of times where you'll Cascade into the first or second card and you won't even see a land. So it's not quite as good. Like I was picturing it in my mind as like definitely hitting a land every time. And that's
right.
That's not true. Like there are going to be some Cascades where you don't even hit a land. So you know,
most Cascades tend to be geared for expensive cards. So even then it's like the odds of hitting something are high.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I can Cascade with a 1-drop, it's like great every time because like I'm not hitting a 0-drop. Like oh sure, I'll hit a land every time. But out of a 6-drop, it's like well if there's a 5 or a 4 or a 3 below it, there you go. I missed my land.
But that being said, this card is still really good if you're building around Cascade. Gosh, wow! Someone followed us on Twitch, and we got a big Audric notification there. Very fun. That's a little bonus for everyone. Anyways, Averna still very good. Obviously, you have to build around Cascade, so that does narrow it down a little bit. But I think it's nice to have another thing to lead up a Cascade deck that isn't just Maelstrom Wanderer and Yidris. Cool.
Right. Who is next? I forget who's reading it. We got Kolfanor, the last U. A U is a kind of tree.
Yeah.
3 white, black, green, legendary tree, folk shaman, 3/7, vigilance, and reach. Whenever Kolfanor, the last U, or another creature you control dies, return up to one other target creature card with lesser toughness from your graveyard to your hand. All right, I like it.
Yeah, pretty cool. This is the Abzan one. Big old butt for a tree folk shaman.
So if I'm not mistaken, if you have 1 or 2 anthem effects out,
Okay.
then everything in your graveyard will have smaller toughness. So you could very easily loop a couple of 0-powered creatures because the one on the battlefield will have a higher toughness and the one in the graveyard will not get that Anthem effect.
Whenever this guy or another creature you control dies, return up to 1 target creature card with lesser toughness from your graveyard to your hand.
So if I've got a +2/+2 Anthem, my Ornithopter is what, a 2/3. And then so if I have like a 1/1 Mem Knight for 0 in my graveyard, that's just 1/1. So that comes back to my hand. I cast that for free. Now that is a 3/3. And the Ornithopter is now a 0/1 in my graveyard. So I can just loop those infinity.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess it's about, like, does it look at the toughness that's printed on the card, or does it look at it once on the battlefield?
Well,
Because it says,
like that's how Fling works too, right? Like at the when it dies, the game saw.
so
what
dies
its
means
toughness
when
was.
it hits the graveyard, right? That's what dies means.
Well, it
So when
checks its last known information, right? It checks the last known toughness, and the last known toughness was under those Anthem effects.
Yeah, I don't know enough about those rules specifically to either agree or disagree with you on that. I do not know, but if that's the way it works, that is interesting, very cool. And if it's not, sure, fine. The art on this card is pretty incredible. I will say that it does look like straight out of Lord of the Rings, and those like kind of old fantasy type style art. So that's really cool. Anyways, this card is good. I like it a lot. Abzan that cares about stuff dying, yes please. Next we have Nostro. I feel like that G is silent. It's got to be silent, right? Nostro, Voice of the Crags. 1 blue, red, white for a legendary creature, a chimera. It's a 3/3. If you were wondering what the heads on the chimera are, I will tell you. One is a owl, one is like a wolf, and the other one is some kind of horse. Okay, the ability is tap, choose 1. X is the number of spells cast you've cast this turn. You either choose Scry X, Nostro deals X damage to target creature, or you gain X life. So, like, you know, pretty, like, kind of small effects, each one. Obviously, you're wanting to work with something where you're casting a lot of spells and or storming. But I feel like if you're storming, these abilities aren't that good, right? Like, if I'm doing storm, I'm doing something way more powerful anyways. I don't need to tap this and gain a bunch of life. Like, scrying becomes kind of the more interesting one, or maybe killing a creature. I don't know, but it's there. It's a possibility, right? And that's kind of nice.
I think the goal of getting X up to like 5 or more is unrealistic. I think you're meant to just expect to be like, yeah, I can scry 1 every turn if I'm not attacking.
Yeah, scry 1, scry 2, whatever, you know, it's kind of a low number like that.
Yeah.
Gaining a little life. Like, you can kind of base it around any of these abilities, really.
Yeah, and if I play an instant, so let's say it's the player to my right, let's say it's their end step, I can cast a cantripping instant that's like a 1-mana draw card, but while that's on a stack, I can scry the X because now Nostro sees that I've cast 1 spell, so I can set up my draw from a cantrip maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting. A little bit of value here for this card. So generally, like, this is more of like a utility commander as opposed to something we're really building around and trying to abuse, right?
I guess some of the shards are just more utility and don't have incredibly powerful ones. Let's move on to the Sultai one, shall we? Let's move on to the
Sultai one, yeah.
Known for disgusting value. That's the Sultai wedge. Archelos Lagoon Mystic. 1 black, green, blue. Legendary Turtle Shaman 2/4. Very reasonable stats for that mana cost.
4 mana 2/4. Classic Magic creature stats.
As long as Archelos is tapped, other permanents, all of them, enter the battlefield tapped. As long as Archelos is untapped, other permanents enter the battlefield untapped.
Guess who gets to decide when our boy Archelos is tapped and or untapped? It's you.
Yeah.
You get to decide. So basically this reads everything that your opponents put into the battlefield is tapped and everything you do is untapped, even if it says enter it tapped, right? So, like, bounce lands enter untapped.
Right.
Stuff like that. Like anything that is, the mitigating factor on it is that it has to enter the battlefield tapped,
That
which
makes
we
it
know
fair.
there's tons of stuff like that. Archelos is going to let you do that for the very, low cost of just existing and being untapped. He's going to let you come in untapped. That's
because
crazy.
you're going to run a lot of abilities that let you tap Archelos whenever you want. I'm not going to risk putting him into combat.
No, absolutely.
And so on my turn, I've untapped him. I'm going to get all my stuff untapped. And then before I'm done, I'm going to tap him real quick just so that no one else gets to do anything untapped that turn.
Doesn't this feel like white should be involved in this card? Like the whole thing of having things come into play from your opponent's side tapped, that's a white ability, right? Like that's known white ability.
Well, we're
almost
almost at the end of the episode. We don't want to start this can of worms. The next episode, we got one more card to do. Then we're wrapping this one up, and we're coming back next week with the remainder of the set review of all the other cards that are new to Commander.
Right.
And what we will discuss then, I'm sure, is how many cards have stolen abilities that white could have had. Like, but it's a black card or it's a blue card. It's like, they can also do that.
I know. I even know what specific card you're talking about. There's some very specific ones that are just like, that is a white card that you've decided for some reason to print into blue. As if blue needs more help. Same thing here. As if Sultai needs more amazing commanders.
As if.
That being said, this is a very good commander. It is really exciting to think about what you could build with this and the abuse that you can have for those cards that are supposed to be tapped. It's really cool. So this is a very powerful. It is abuse.
It's an abusive shard.
It's abusive.
The Sultai shard is an abusive shard.
We're getting to the point where that is absolutely true. All right, our final one that we have currently, and you know what, Sean, maybe if there's any other legendaries dropped in between us recording,
that's true.
You know what? We can tag those on. So definitely come back if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, wait a second, they missed that 5-color one or whatever. We'll get you that in the next episode. But our final one for today is Jared Jared Carthalion, True Heir. This is a Naya commander, so red, green, white, legendary creature, human warrior, 3/3. When Jared enters the battlefield, target opponent becomes the monarch. We haven't talked because none of these have had to do with monarch, but monarch is back in this set on a bunch of new cards. Again, you're gonna hear about that next episode. But here he is. Target opponent becomes the monarch. You can't become the monarch this turn. If damage would be dealt to Jared while you're the monarch, prevent that damage and put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So I like where this card starts out, oddly enough. Like, I know that those are like, that's a downside, giving an opponent the monarch and then you not being able to get it the same turn. But that, to me, that's like, okay, that's the setup. Show me that punchline. Show me that huge, like, what am I getting for this? And it's like, oh, he just gets +1/+1 counters, and preventing damage is good, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't, like, he can still just kill it. You can still just kill this guy. Like, it's not bad though. It's not bad. That being said, it's a 3-mana 3/3. That's a powerful thing. And the fact that it's your commander, you're gonna obviously support it. So actually, I still think it is interesting enough that, like, this is cool. This is cool. And he's holding a giant sword, and that's just a little bit of a clue. Hey, suit this guy up. Get him that monarchy, and then all of a sudden it's tough to do anything against Jared in combat. That's for sure.
The art is giving you the clue. Suit him up, get him a deep V.
Oh, a very deep V. Yeah. Yeah, very deep V.
The deepest V. And like long 80s rock hair.
This is a rock and roll dude. Like, he definitely looks like he could be the lead singer of, like, the Scorpions or something.
Would you ever think, Andy, that the most rock and roll legendary would be Naya colors?
No, right? Yeah, no, absolutely not. No. You got to have black involved in there somewhere, right? Like, that would be the
Jund is the most rock and roll commander's wedge.
Yes, you know what? You're right. If we're talking which of the wedges, it is definitely Jund.
Yeah.
Rakdos, obviously, I feel like it sounds like you're saying Rakdos. Like, Rakdos is the most rockiness 2-color, maybe.
I feel Rakdos as is getting a little too insane clown posse for me.
Well, the Rakdos guild, yes. Yes. If we're talking about the guilds of Ravnica, absolutely we're getting a little too insane clown posse for my liking. But if we're just talking about like general philosophy and names of cards, I think Rakdos wins by a long shot.
Yeah, yes.
All the demons and the devils and stuff, you know, that's rock and roll.
Well, we're getting a little loopy because it's the end of the episode and we've been recording forever. But thank you for listening. Oh, goodness. I don't even remember how to end an episode now.
I don't either, because usually we do the objects and then we get out of here. So it's a little different, obviously. We got the set review. But thanks very much for listening to the first half of this massive set review. We had to do it this way because, again, we got so many cards to talk about. Commander Legends is very, very exciting. Again, if there's any that we're recording this like a day or two before the whole set is spoiled. So it's possible that they release a few more legendaries. Again, check those out in the next episode. We'll definitely follow up with that. We'll have, by then, all the cards will be out. And then our next episode, we'll be talking about all of the other cards, minus like, you know, draft stuff that we don't care about. So still a ton of cards to talk about. Thank you very much. We will be back again. And we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.